Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of black?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want to-
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself.
Ooh.
Well,
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No! Hello.
Nice. Oh, 11 o'clock came too quickly and I didn't get my coffee.
Oh, no.
It's okay. I'll be all right.
Do you just want me to riff for a minute or two while you...
Right. We'll see. If my energy lowers, you can go, "Man, you really need your coffee."
I could just tell some bad knock-knock jokes for a couple of minutes. You know, I mean, that's really why the people are here.
Yeah, totally. You know what I realized, Jake?
What?
We did not really adjust our opening, our recap today, so we're gonna have to kind of do that on the fly.
Oh yeah, I need to get that open, and I'll kind of like try and remember exactly what we did yesterday. I'll kind of add to it.
Yeah.
But shall I do it today?
Go for it.
Okay.
Let's first of all wait. Hello, I'm Ben Lustig.
I am Jake Thornton, also known as General Jake Barr. It's a trap.
Right, and you are with us at Ben and Jake Write a Movie, where we're writing our Lex script live.
Yes.
So, give us a recap, Jake.
So, previously on Ben and Jake Write a Movie. So we came to this with no real clue what exactly we were going to write. We knew what our brand is and what kind of movie we wanted our next project to be. So earlier last week, we worked through a bunch of ideas, bunch of broad thoughts, and they kind of congealed down into one. We wanted to play with the idea of what if a demon who wants to be a real boy, a real human being, was given the opportunity, if they were able to bring who we will learn is the Antichrist from a small town in America to the Holy Land. It has overtones of Midnight Run. It has overtones of The Terminator. We started talking through themes of taking control of one's destiny, and that our protagonist, who would be human, who is average, who has the potential to be the bringer of doom, and a demon who has abandoned hell and who lives in relative isolation, we'll be exploring throughout the course of the film. The villains began to evolve and will range from the other demons of hell to the celestials of heaven and all the police who are trying to stop them as well. We've just begun to structure our major beats. The characters are continuing to take shape and the plot is getting clearer the more that we talk about it. Yesterday, we talked really, I think, through working out what the quote-unquote darkest moment, the all is lost moment towards the end of Act 2 was really going to revolve around, and what shape then the Act 3 would take based on those events. Have I forgotten anything, Ben, or was that just expertly done?
That was expertly done, Jake. You know, the only thing I would say also is that if you haven't listened to yesterday's episode, we also talked about the midpoint, and there was a nice discussion as to where this major turn in our movie was going to take place. Was it, when would we find out the double cross, and how would that change the course and direction of the movie? And
to be clear, the double cross being that we discover that we're actually working for the bad guys.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Or that the people who gave us our mission actually have an end for our protagonist that we did not know at the start of the movie, which is being that they're going to kill her because she's the Antichrist.
So we also decided yesterday that we might go longer than 1 hour if we are feeling the need to do so. And so we divided yesterday's episode into 3 parts. You'll see on our YouTube channel there's 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. Let us know if you
3 acts, if you will.
3 acts, if you will, of our own thing. Let us know in the comments if that appeals to you. If you'd prefer us to continue to divide those up into smaller chunks, or if you just like to watch and pause, because you know, it takes time and energy to do that. So,
and once again, please like our videos. Please subscribe to our channel. And hit that little bell in the corner.
It's important because we want our vanity link for crying out loud.
I need it so I can put it on a t-shirt. YouTube.com/LustedThornton.
Subscribe. All right, let's get to work though.
Yes.
We always.
I just need to make a quick PSA, and I forgot to do this yesterday. I have sick children at home today. Both me and my wife are working right now, so I'm kind of a little bit on daddy duty because she can't be. So because she's not a daddy. So if there is anything, I may need to pause momentarily and deal with stuff, but hopefully that won't happen. They do have everything they need, but I just want to let everyone know that might happen.
That might happen. So I think, I was thinking about where we're at right now. And interestingly enough, I do feel like we have the main shape of the movie, which is kind of exciting.
Yeah.
From a very kind of 30,000 foot view, but still understanding kind of our act one, our act two, our act three, where our major turns are going to happen. So, one of the things I feel like would be helpful, or at least that I've been thinking about, is getting a little bit deeper in our characters and really understanding who they are.
Yeah.
Especially from the perspective of who we've been calling Sam, who we've been calling Charlize, and at least looking at those two as our heroes,
yeah,
kind of just digging in a little bit more.
Even
if it's just, and this is the interesting thing about character bios, which we don't normally write a bio, but we do on our scratch pad, important information, and our conversations, I think, through them tend to just kind of deepen our understanding of who they are and where they are in their lives. A lot of people
kind of people they are, because there'll be moments where we'll be working through an outline and going, oh, would this character do that here? Are they the kind of person who at this stage in the script would do that? And we've talked a little bit about that, haven't we? In terms of the kind of quote unquote Sarah Connor, Sam character. And it's like, at what point are they starting to make those changes? And looking at what's the final way that you want to feel about each of these characters, and then what's going to be the opposite of that then at the beginning, and what kind of person is that and why?
Right.
So I think it's all very helpful stuff to talk about.
And some people go really nuts with character bios. They'll go all the way to like birth, basically. And walk through, and some I've even talked to some writers who write out entire documents that are character bios. And I don't think that that's wasted time. It's not stuff that we do.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna tell a brief story about when I was at acting school with this particular thing. The lesson of the class was go away and write a character bio for yourself and come into the scene with another person and improvise a scene with that bio in place. And me and my friend Eleanor Flaherty did this scene together, and we basically ended up saying everything that had happened to us in our past. And at the end of it, the teacher was like, all you were doing was showing me your homework.
Right.
Rather than just living in it. And I think there is a temptation sometimes to, if you've done all this work, to put it in the script because you've done all this work. But the reality is all it's doing is it's painting a backdrop for you, the artist, to be able to fully create this character real.
Yeah.
So, again, like you said, Ben, it's not wasted time. But if you do it, don't feel that you have to use all of it on screen in a way that makes you go, hey, look, I've got this wonderful, rich backstory.
And honestly, I think that the most important things to discover are the things that might influence the story at hand. So, for example, I'll toss out, and this, I'm just riffing here, but, if Sam was the type of person whereby she only had a single parent and thus had no relationship with, maybe her mother, and that somehow influenced this new relationship that she started to build with Charlize. Now, I don't know that that's what I want to do. Again, just riffing, but that's the kind of backstory information that you would want, even if it was never like fully talked about.
Yes.
Because it might not be relevant.
Absolutely.
You would get the understanding of this character who has this need for a maternal figure in their life.
Totally. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because that entire relationship that you've just briefly improvised about Sam missing a mother. You know, could there be a moment where, you know, our demon Charlize is talking and asking about her life, and, you know, says, you know, da, 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 and what about your mom? And like the answer could just be no.
Right.
You know, it's like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't have to go into the psychological analyzation.
Yes,
yeah.
Completely right. And so, but ultimately you go, that one word, no, it's all done in the subtext.
Right.
We don't know what that is, but we just know that there's not a great relationship there that does or does not.
Yeah. Or you can be as specific as just her saying she died. Totally. And then her going, silence. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Done. Totally. Yes. Never talk about it ever again in the movie. It's not part of what the movie's about, but it does influence who she is and how she relates to the events of the movie.
Completely.
So, or like, never knew her. That would be another thing. Now I've got a completely different way of viewing the world, you know? And so I think, like, from the perspective of, let's just talk about Samantha, Sam. For a minute, and let's start with her, because I do think she's our biggest arc-driven character.
Yeah, and she is, I think, really our way into the story. Yeah. She is the person who represents us in this movie. You're going to empathize with her and understand how that experience is more than a demon.
Yeah. And what we've talked about so far is that she is the kind of person who feels like she doesn't have control over her life.
Yes.
And so I go, well, okay. In the immediate sense, we've talked about, like, maybe she is in either a dead-end job or feels like she's going to get fired because they're downsizing at her company and she's worried about being fired, or she's just been fired. Either way, like, there's a very kind of clear kind of moment of her going, I have no control over what's going on in my life right now. But let's go one step backwards and go, like, what job was she in?
Completely. You know? And again, something that we talked briefly about yesterday was, and maybe this isn't right, you know, but what is, and it's not about doing it for comedic effect. I think what you said yesterday is right. But who's the interesting person who's going to find out that they are this bringer of doom? Again, I don't think it's, there are none.
No, I actually think it's interesting to have them be, but I'm a nobody.
Yeah, sure.
I'm no one.
Right.
Why would I, like, you picked the wrong person. Right. And you usually see that idea displayed with you're the one character.
Sure. I mean, like, it's a little bit Neo in that sense, isn't it? Right. Like, you don't really know exactly what Neo does, but you know he works in a company and in a cubicle.
And he's a hacker.
And he's a hacker on the side.
Right.
Oh, he's a computer programmer, isn't he? Because that's what Smith says.
Yeah.
One of these has a future. He's a computer programmer for a successful software company. Something like that. Yeah. Right. So anyway, but I don't.
But I mean, usually in, like, the one stories, you end up with a character who might be like, but I'm just a normal person. Why would I be the one? I think what's interesting about the flip on that is, but I'm just a normal person. Why would I be the Antichrist?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I'm not a serial killer.
I'm a good person.
Like, I'm a good person. I pay my taxes. I help out at charities.
I help my landlady carry out her garbage.
I don't even have, like, I'm not like, I go to church once.
I don't go to church, but I'm, like, not against people who do. Like, sure.
Is there a way to kind of just have her surprised by this be genuine? It's like she's not, like, in the sense of going, like, this doesn't make sense.
Completely.
I'm so in my own opinion, I'm uninteresting.
Sure.
I don't think she actually should be uninteresting, but to herself, she probably has a pretty boring life.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah.
Is there a way to make it so that the job that she's in isn't all that exciting.
Yeah, completely.
You know?
I think so.
And hence, like we talked about either her sister or her roommate being another part going, why do you even care about this job?
Totally.
Like, what
So
difference does
yeah.
it make?
So is there a mundane nature to this job, or is it? I don't think it's just a survival job, because again, I think, and by a survival job, I mean, all jobs are survival jobs, but like, she does hope to move up. Like, for
Right. She's
example,
not just working this job because she has ambitions to be a writer or an artist or an actor or something
right.
else. Like
Yes.
it's a career, but here's my, I would say, counter to that is,
Yep.
then does that make her being the one who made the choice to do this job and thus has control over? I'm kind of looking for this idea of like, she's lived a life whereby she's just kind of been pushed from thing to thing to thing
Uh-huh.
without ever really feeling like she was making concrete decisions.
I agree.
So I wouldn't want her to be in a job that she's like has ambition to be the boss, because that is someone who is, at least even on a small sense, taking control of what their life is going to look like in the future.
Well, it depends,
know?
doesn't it? Because you can have desire for something and not have control over whether or not that, like, for example, like, I think about agencies and like starting in the mailroom, but like, she's been in the mailroom for 6 years, or she's been a receptionist. Again, nothing wrong with being
She would have gotten that job because she had ambitions to be an agent. What I'm saying is, I feel like she should be a little bit even more of a lost soul. Like,
Okay.
I don't know that she's probably the kind of person who got a liberal arts degree at college and never really figured out what it was that she wants to do with her life. In fact,
Sure.
I find it really interesting, especially people in their 20s. And it's been more and more, even I would say our generation, as well as the younger generations, that you get into your 20s and you still don't really know what you want to do with your
Right.
life.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like, and then you just end up in a job because
Right.
it just, well, I need to pay my bills. And
Yeah.
someone said, come work over here, or you looked in the want ads, or nowadays you go on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and like, it's not oh, this is my life's passion. It's
Sure.
just, I don't have I don't have that. And
But I'm working a job until I figure it out.
yeah, well, I have to pay for my life.
Sure.
I need money. I know
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
But I don't have like the ability to just pick up and move to, let's say she always wanted, again, I don't know that this is right. I always wanted to be an actor, but I don't have the money to pick up and move to LA, and there's no
Sure, yeah,
opportunities here that are going to get me there. And I don't
Right.
feel like I have the support from X, Y, and Z. And
Uh-huh.
I feel held down by this, but that wasn't my choice either.
Mhm.
And my car is always breaking down, and there's all, like, it's an extreme, but it's that
Yeah.
kind of person who goes, because where we want her to go, obviously, is going like, I can be whatever I want to be, and I'm going to choose to be this person and not that person.
Right. Yeah.
The other side to the coin, and this might be really interesting, is she is a fuck up. She is someone who's, and so the choice at the end is to live a different kind of life. Is she the 22-year-old who is doing drugs, who does have a record, who has been in and out of, juvie when she was a kid, who is on the path to being the Antichrist because she has always been on that path, and thus discovers that she can change that path?
Is there somewhere in between that's not as extreme? No, that's an extreme version, but not as extreme as that. Whereby
not a murderer.
She's not a murderer. No, totally. No, but like, she's the kind of person who is always fucking late. She always sleeps in. She goes out drinking. She doesn't like, she really hasn't got her life figured out. She's a quote unquote fuck up like that, but not necessarily a druggie, not necessarily getting arrested for stuff, but like she can't get her life. Her life's just a complete fucking mess. She's a mess.
Well, I guess here's my question. What's the more interesting arc, right? Where we know where we want her to end up. And we know what she's destined, or they're telling her she's destined.
Well, let's just clarify. Clarify. What do we mean by we know where she wants to end up? Let's just get
at the end. She's not going to want to be the Antichrist. She's going to want to be a good person.
Okay, so if she wants to be a good person, then perhaps what you're talking about is right. She needs to be doing things that are perhaps
the opposite. The opposite of good.
But again, it's not like I'm robbing banks, but like I have stolen, like again, if I was a waitress, she's not a waitress, but like I steal someone's credit card.
Yeah, I shoplift.
I shoplift, that kind of stuff.
I'm the 22-year-old or 23-year-old who, I skip out on my rent payment, or I'm like, and you could go potentially one step further. It's interesting. I kind of think about John Connor and the way he was portrayed in Terminator 2. And granted,
that's interesting. Yeah,
he was really young, but what was nice about it is you go, this is the guy that's going to become the savior of humanity.
Totally, that's a really interesting comp. Actually,
that growth is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
like by the end of that movie, John is ready to be the John that he needs to be. But at the beginning, when you meet him, he's flicking off his parents, and he's fucking stealing shit, and he's got the crazy haircut and driving when he's not old enough to drive, and he's a
when the T-1000 comes after him as a police officer, he's like, oh shit, the police are after me. Fuck. Yeah, because I'm the kind of guy who.
And I haven't thought about Sam this way, but actually, what I like about it is, I like two things, right? First, it feels like it differentiates her from Sarah Connor, or at least in that sense, in that movie. Yeah. But there's an interesting aspect of the there's a little more 48 hours in that sense.
Yeah, sure.
Again, I go, the reason it kind of there, and yet our version will be even more of a conflict, because here's a demon, a fucking demon, and you're trying to tell me to not shoplift? Seriously? Like, you're gonna a demon is gonna lecture me about being a good person?
And there's a nice moment where, pre-discovering the shocking truth that she's the Antichrist, is like, why? What do they want with me? God has a plan for you. God has a plan for me.
In fact, she should be so not religious.
Absolutely.
She should be not like
this
she doesn't even believe in God.
This is a joke to her when it's first. Like, what the fuck? Who set you up to do this? Are you one of Benny's guys? You are, aren't you?
What's interesting too is that there's almost a sub theme almost about having faith. You can't. As I said, I think at one point, it's like you almost can't escape that. Because of the nature of the movie, but because if you make our protagonist someone who has no faith at the beginning, in fact, that's why she's totally fine being a fuck up, because I have no faith whatsoever.
But it's interesting because that faith can extend and ultimately should fundamentally be about yourself. Yeah. And I think there's this thing whereby she's like, I'm nobody. I'm not just nobody. I'm a total, she acknowledges that she's a fuck up. She knows
it, and she's been okay with it, because what difference does it fucking make?
I realize that. Can we open up that? Because I think this is really, really, really good. Maybe at this moment we will pause part one. Because we're coming up to half an hour. We are gonna
and give everybody a little bit of a recap of where we've gotten to at this point.
Absolutely right. So we'll pause here.